group, one of the ones that's gone through the most transition. How do you feel like the guys have picked it up so far, and what's maybe job one heading into fall?
Yeah, I think day one when you get here, no returning starters at all in the yard. So the first thing, you got to go recruit and get the right people in here. And obviously this day and age, you got the transfer portal, you utilize that. We're able to bring 4 guys in, and they're all going to be contributors. And more importantly, I think they're really, really good people. I think they add to the room in unselfish ways, which this day and age, when you do that and you sign people, I think you got to recruit the person just as much as you recruit the player, because guys are going to come into new situations. You got all these personalities blending together, and that's been the biggest thing that I've seen through my time here is their ability. They want to hang out with each other. They care for each other, and that was usually always used to be a given in the O-line world. Now with the fabric of the game and how you're managing rosters, it's kind of been a lost art. But I think that's one positive is the guys we did bring in from the portal are very, very mature guys, understand what we're trying to get done here, understand that they got to go compete for their opportunity too, and there's not going to be any handouts around here. And they've really taken to that. Ethan Miner, obviously got him out of the portal. Center, Jacoby Jackson, working mainly at guard with a little bit of flex to him. Marlon Martinez, mainly at guard with also some flex inside to him. Mac Pounders, those guys new adds to the room. And then you got the guys that have been here, which it's also, there's a maturity level with them too, that they have to take on that, hey, I got to go compete too. And just because I've been here, there's not going to be a handout for that either. We're going to get the best 5 guys out there at a time. And every day you got to go compete, and every day's got to be an on day. And really build that competition, gentleman's competition, where you're going out competing against each other and also having a good attitude and being able to go break bread with them after practice and, build those relationships, which that's kind of been the spring theme leading into fall camp. And then building depth with some of your young guys too that are on the yard.
How valuable is that being able to get 4 guys out of the portal that have college snaps, many at the Power 5 level, instead of starting with a group of young guys?
Yeah, I think it's huge. I think when you get here day one and you realize there's no starters coming back, and Coach Levy's touched on this as well, we have a lot of guys that have played a lot of college football. They may not be in maroon while doing it, but a lot of those guys are bringing that edge and that kind of older mentality. I think it's really important, and it goes both ways, right? Before you had this option, you didn't have to deal with as much turnover, so you didn't have the issues that it presents. But now, not having those guys coming back, it does, in year one of a program, really gives you an advantage to fill those holes in through the portal.
So many of those guys that could have come in thinking, all right, I'm signed to play. I've got a job already waiting for it. But have they worked like that? Like they've got to win their way into this team?
Yeah, I think you got to be honest in the recruiting process that, yes, there is an opportunity, but the handout piece of it, I mean, if you build your unit on those handouts and those freebies, then at the end of the day, when things get tough, you're going to have a lot of guys that don't step up for you. So I think it's huge that you attack that on the front end in the recruiting process of, we have opportunities for you. And I was a big time opportunity dealer in the portal because we did have that. But I think it's the mindset of how you talk to the guys and from day one, just being honest. And if you try and, cloud it up or paint a different picture than what you want, that's, eventually they're going to assume something different. So just being on the same page with that and letting them know that every day is a job interview and you're going to get opportunities. And for how long you hold that position is definitely dependent on your performance out there.
You talked about
Go ahead.
you talked about the relationship piece with that group, and that's kind of like an old school thing. Used to be that way all the time. It's kind of the same way with the quarterback. Blake talked about taking them out to eat and trying to have that relationship. What's the relationship like between the offensive line and Blake at quarterback?
Yeah, I think it's growing, right? I think it's good. I think the spring period allowed for kind of that growth within that relationship. I think that's a huge factor in modern football is how quickly can you build that and how quickly can you get the right personalities in the room that nurture that. And I think honestly it shows up a lot more on the field. When you take that and you look at those relationships, when things get tough, you want to be around guys you trust and guys you have that bond with. So that's honestly, I think it's an overlooked trait in this whole. A lot of people talk about the roster turnover, transfer portal, things like that. But really, when you get down to the bare bones of it, it's how quickly can you build a relationship of trust, communication with those guys. And you got to kind of dive into that as a coach as well and make sure you're monitoring that and nurturing that as much as you can.
We talked about newcomers, but Albert Reese goes to SEC Media Days. What have been your thoughts about him? Why was he the right choice?
I think he's a guy that's seen it all, and I think he's earned the right to be there. He's a leader. He's one of the strongest pound-for-pound guys on this team. Guys look up to him. He's got an awesome story from start to finish, and he's still building that. A kid with, the words you don't want to use is potential, and I kind of tell my guys, like, potential it is what it is. You haven't done it yet, but everything from spring ball leads to that being a guy for us and a leader within the room and somebody that can grasp the offense rather quickly and be successful. So we're looking for him to have a great year.
Yeah,
Malik Ellis was a guy last year that had to play tight end out of necessity. Where you got him working at?
Yeah, he's along the interior of the offensive line, primarily in spring ball, center, as well as guard. I think when you float as a player, there's no target. And I think he has seen throughout spring ball that there's a target now. And he's worked diligently day in and day out. He really is hard on himself, which is a trait that a lot of offensive linemen have. We all want to be, pleasers at heart. We want to, get the attaboys and good jobs. But he's really hard on himself to do great things. And I think that's a trait he possesses that is going to serve him well, not only in football, but in life, that he's trying to work every day to kind of hit that target now. And I think he sees things that are obtainable and has a goal.
Is Amari Smith outside?
Yeah, he's been primarily at tackle there with the second group primarily. He's coming along. His when he got here, you walk up on the kid and he checks all the boxes from a physical trait standpoint. His journey is just body mechanics, body movements, controlling the body. But he has all the tools in the toolbox. It's when to use them, where to use them, and how to utilize those tools.
Jimothy, I guess, is outside too.
Yes, he's worked primarily at tackle. A lot of times with the younger guys that haven't played as much football, you want to leave them stationary to kind of see what their growth can be before you start shuffling them around. And those are two guys that are in that category of really talented guys, but not as much flex as what we talked about with some of the older guys that have played a lot of football. You want to keep those younger guys kind of in one spot to see how they grow and their growth potential.
Coach,